Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network.
Whatever or whoever it is that haunts that house, the manifestations are the most powerful and evil in their experience. They all mention nameless horrors.
Hello, this is Malcolm Robinson and you're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the UK's biggest paranormal network, and this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Hello, welcome to the show. Thank you for that lovely intro, Malcolm. Now, today we've got a guest from a rival radio station. It's Barry Frankish, and also helping me is another rival fella from the same show. And his name's Tom Warrington. He's been on the show before, probably about a year ago now, I believe it was. Hello, Tom.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, mate.
How are we doing? All right?
Yeah, we're doing all right. Welcome to the show, and hopefully you'll be able to help me out with Barry, because I don't know him too well. We haven't spoken too much. I was on the show, we did a little bit of a chat the other day on your show.
Yeah.
But, hopefully we'll be introducing the Parafest, the East Anglia Paranormal Investigations event, which was a little bit touch and go, wasn't it, because of all this virus and everything going on.
Yes, I'm so happy it's going ahead. I'm so excited, because we're all speaking there, and then it takes a lot of time and effort to create the talk, doesn't it? So it was such a shame for it not to have happened, but it's going ahead. So it should be fantastic.
Well, that's why I wanted to get Barry on, because I thought you were about a year ago, and hopefully you'll come back on the show at some point soon. But I think what we ought to do is invite Barry on right now. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Barry. Welcome to the show. Hello. There's a bit of echo there. Can you hear that too?
I can hear something. I normally.
It's all right now. It seems better now.
See, I can press a button and nothing breaks.
That's good. That is good.
Right, let's just do that again then. So, welcome to the show, Barry.
Oh, thank you. I've been recording live now.
Well, we're recording, yeah.
Yeah,
that's fine. Yes, well, thank you very much, David.
Yeah, and as I just said before, we had a technical hitch just now. Tom Warrington's joining us on the show, your partner in crime. And
I know quite well.
And the reason we're doing the show is because we've got Parafest coming up, which is which is an East Anglia Paranormal Investigations event, which is in. Oh, remind me, where is it?
Church Farm Museum, Skegness.
Church Farm Museum, Skegness. I've never been to Skegness. I don't know what it's like there.
Oh my God! It's like it's the poor man's version of Las Vegas. David.
Oh, right.
Skeg Vegas.
Skeg Vegas. It's amazing.
As good as that, eh? Oh, I better take some money for gambling then, eh?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Two P's. Two beans, and it's lovely. It's
I'll have to raid me piggy bank then.
Yeah.
Anyway, Barry, I know you've been very busy writing and all sorts of stuff, and you've got your radio show. I don't know where you want to start off. You want to tell us how you got into the paranormal in the first place?
Yeah, sure. Well, it started a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Sorry, wrong film. No, well, I've always had a fascination with paranormal as a child, because I'd had a few experiences on a school field trip, and as time goes on, I've always had dabbled in it, but not really actually took any serious just regarding investigations or anything. I still started collecting books and literature on things such as the Arthur C. Clarke's World of Strange Powers, which was one of my first books I bought. And I've basically my book collection just escalated from there on, and I'm still collecting it to this very day. And I've had a few experiences myself, but I can categorically say I've never actually seen a full-blown apparition, even though I have experienced weird things.
Yeah, what things have happened that you can't explain, that type of thing.
Yeah, well, one in particular, Tom knows about this one. There was a few years back in Doncaster, there's a particular stretch of road called Ledger Way, which is home to the famous St Ledger Horse Racing Festival of Doncaster. And it's quite an easy stretch of road to drive down, but for some strange reason, it's actually a black spot. I think people get complacent about it, and it gets the better of them. But I was doing one particular morning a few years back. I was doing a car boot sale, so I loaded my car up and drove down. This was probably about 10 to 5 in the morning, so it was summer, so it wasn't dark. Visibility was good, and it weren't wet. I was in good spirits, and I weren't feeling unwell or anything. And I was driving down from a very normal route, and from what I could see, I passed the final roundabout to go to Ledger Way. And I saw coming towards me from my driver's side, from passenger side, what looked like at quite low level coming towards me, like a bird or a rat or something like that. Maybe a rabbit, because it was quite low down, but it was quite dark in colour, so I thought an animal of some kind. And as it came towards me and in front of my car, as soon as it got in front of my car, I noticed it was neither of those. It was actually a disembodied brown boot. It seemed to run in motion.
Good gracious, really?
And yes, even to this day I still question it, because I thought, what did I see? What did I just see then? And let's say the rest of the into I can replay it in my head right now. It's basically the right boot, an ankle height boot, like a gent's boot, and it seemed to be in running motion. But by the time it got to the centre of the road, it just totally disappeared.
Oh,
yeah, and that see all that day until I said to this very day, I still question it. And I know what I saw, but did I see what I saw?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose you think to yourself, was it a vole or a rat or something? You never know. That,
that's what I thought at first. I thought, it's too big for a vole. That's why I thought rabbit or some kind of small rodent type, because we had some big rats around.
Yeah.
But it was distinctly a brown boot, and I can picture it right now.
That's weird. That's one of the strangest things I've heard, I think.
That's what I mean, but that's what makes it for me that's what makes it more authentic for me, because I experienced it. I was at the time as well. I found when I experience things, I'm not looking for it. I mean, it seems to find me.
Yeah, it reminds me of that film actually. They're crawling hand, just a hand crawling about. You ever see that one?
There's a few like that. I think one's Adam's Family, isn't there, as well?
Yes, yeah, same thing.
They've got Little Hand. There's also, I know there's a couple of Hammer films like that as well.
Yeah. But, I know you do a lot of writing as well, don't you? Are you writing a book?
Recently, I've been doing. Yes, I have. I've always had a knack for writing, but because of work and other commitments, I found it difficult to actually find the time. But since we got into a furlough and lockdown, I thought I'll put my energies into writing, because it keep my mind occupied. Because I hate being cooped in all day. I'm one of these animals. I don't like being confined.
Yeah.
And I thought, put my energies. I'll put myself in my office, get my desk out, and I started writing. And I think for me it's been quite therapeutical.
Right. Now your radio show you've been doing with Tom, you've been doing that for what? Almost 4 years now.
Nearly 4 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 years is not.
Now Tom was just telling me it was only 4 years. It's been quite a while, isn't it?
Yeah. It doesn't seem for 4 years though. I mean, I've enjoyed every minute of it.
I was going to say, it's really peculiar, isn't it, Barry? Because, we do it every Tuesday, and we construct the layout of the show the night before, maybe a couple of days before. It does take a lot of our time up, but it's so rewarding, because we've had so many amazing guests on. It's just it's brilliant, isn't it? And to hear people's different experiences, ideology, methodology with regards to investigating or what they do, it's just so refreshing to hear people's different perceptions.
It is, and it's great actually meeting or getting the chance to talk to people you may not get a chance to talk to. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah,
especially with people across the seas.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And I think, do you know what? That's the big plus side of social media, because it does bring people together, doesn't it? I mean, it's a huge positive tick there with regards to communication, isn't it? You can reach the masses, and you can, like David, you mentioned there, you know, you can talk to people that you probably never would have the opportunity to meet or have that kind of scenario with. So again, it's a huge plus.
Yeah. I mean, I find it quite exciting when you actually, you know, it gives you the ticket, basically, if you like, to actually invite somebody to come on the show, and when they accept, it's sort of like a feather in your cap. That's the way I feel about it.
It is. I agree there. Yeah, you think, got such an awesome guest this week. Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and also I'm tending to find lately, you know, I'm even getting people asking me to come on the show. You know, and it's I'm actually sort of I'm booking into about February now, so it's so if I can make my show last 4 years, I'll be well satisfied. I mean, I'm out to about a year and a half at the moment, so by February I'll be up to be 2 years. So if I can get to 4 years, I'll be well satisfied.
I tell you what, it comes down so quickly. I'll say I've not done the full duration of 4. I've not done the full duration of 4 years. I met Tom. We're basically halfway through the first year, weren't it, Tom?
Yes, yeah, you was actually, I invited you, oh goodness me, I think you actually did a few shows with me, and you actually...
I think it was 3 I did, weren't it? 3 or 4.
And I think because we kind of connected straight away, and I think the listeners got that vibe with us as well, because we got so many lovely comments that, you know, we kind of bounced off each other. I thought, do you know what, it's time to take the show in another direction, and I think I need a co-host, and Barry was top. He was up there. He was the first name, and the idea, the person I wanted, basically. There was a few, but Barry was definitely, because I connected so well with him, you know.
Yeah, well, you do find that, don't you? You do tend to find that.
Yeah.
I mean, I started actually, because of your show, I think at the beginning of this year, I started having like a few co-guests, not every show, but sort of every couple of shows. I've had, like Juliet Gregson and Sasha Christie helping me out. And now I've got you, Tom. So, and hopefully you'll do it again with me at some point.
Of course, yeah, brilliant. I enjoy it, and it's a bit surreal doing this now when we're interviewing Barry. So it's
well, that's what I thought. I thought, well, you being partners in crime on your own show, it just had to be done, didn't it? Now, I don't know if we mention you do your show is called Pure Paranormal Radio, and it's on the Pulse radio station, isn't it?
That's right. And also, I
don't know if we mentioned it. I thought we'd better mention it.
It's also on Fantasy Stream, isn't it, as well, Barry?
Fantasy.stream, yeah.
That's the one. We do run on 2 now. We got invited by them, oh God, was it a year ago now? I don't know.
That might not be bad, to be honest with you. I don't think it's been a year yet.
No? Oh, okay. Yeah, we was kind of approached to air the show simultaneously on 2 different platforms, which was another...
it's phenomenal.
Statement, you know, people that actually want to listen to us rabbit on.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's like this radio station, you know, like the Pure Paranormal, I'm calling my station yours, the Paranormal UK Radio Network. It goes out on quite a few different platforms. I know. I've got yours written in front of me. That's what it is. Because it goes out on so many different platforms. Apparently, they don't even know how many listeners. It goes into like obviously quite the high thousands across the world. But like yours, I don't know if you even know how many listeners you get. Do you?
I did. Our producer Carl, who's Pulse Talk Radio, he does give me figures now and again, and one of the shows, I believe, because obviously for licensing and stuff like that, there is a capacity to the amount of listeners that can tune in on certain platforms and stuff like that. And apparently, I believe it was Dr. Kieran O'Keefe's show. Barry, you were not on that show. I think you were away. I don't know what you were doing, but you were co-hosting with me. But you weren't on that show for some reason.
Broke the internet.
And it crashed. It absolutely crashed, and it was something to do with the listeners. And I thought, wow, that's something. You know, that's pretty cool. And do you know what? So I was going to ask this to Barry as well. I know I've asked this quite a few times, but out of all the guests that we've had, it's very hard to pinpoint who has been our favourite, really. But I don't know who your favourite was, really, Barry. With regards
it's hard to say. It's hard to say because I do like our American guests. I must admit.
Yeah, I
mean, Andrea Perron. I mean, she was fabulous.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, she absolutely. To hear her story, as we all know, she lived in the original Conjuring house. She was a phenomenal guest, and again, I don't usually listen back to the shows, but there are certain. Do you actually listen back to us, Barry? Because I
do sometimes. Yes, if we get a chance. Yes, because I mean, it's what I think about like it as well. Not only do we get the guests which are quite well known in the paranormal circles, but we also get people like myself who are lesser known. And Joe Bloggs, for example, down the street. I mean, everyone's got an opinion on the paranormal in some way or another, and it's good for people. It's a nice platform, somewhere else to be able to come on as an equal to say this is my opinion on things.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel, but I feel I don't like listening to my own voice.
I'm exactly the same.
I don't either.
I've been commented on my accent quite a few times, and a lot of Americans seem to like it, but I've got a weird. It's not a Yorkshire. It's a well-travelled Yorkshire accent, as I call it.
Yeah. No, but I think we're all the same. I think we all don't like to look at our own pictures or our own voices or listen to it. And but, I mean, I have to listen to my own because I sort of I mix the show afterwards and everything, so I have to sort of put the show together afterwards. So, but your show going out live, it sort of goes out as it goes out, doesn't it? So.
It does. It's quite funny in that respect as well because if we do make a boo-boo, it's there.
Yeah. But, you know, we've had some hilarious moments on the show, and my favourite. I'm putting it out there, was a young lady who's part of a group, and she was taking the interview outside, and halfway through the interview, all you heard was "meh." She was near a sheep field. It was just so comedy gold. It was so good, and that's the thing with doing it live. That's it. You can't predict what's going to happen, and we've had some.
You can't edit it, no.
It's too late, and I've had to apologise to the producer a lot. We've got in trouble quite a bit as well, but you know that's all part and parcel.
Well, I think the thing is also swear words can slip out sometimes, don't they, from your guests?
Oh, okay, well, a few pop out, yeah.
yeah, definitely.
And it's also not just that. I mean, there's a music box incident as well. We had her well back on.
Yes.
That was quite comical.
Yes, that was Neil Packer.
That was Neil Packer, yes. We had Neil Packer on as a guest. You know, so this is just, I believe, before he started his Antiques Museum. And we were talking about what he had planned and how he's working from his garage to his property he's got now and so and so. And we were talking about the subject of haunted and possessed items like clowns and dolls and things. And at the time, I was living in my old house. And I won't say an office, more like a broom cupboard type thing. And one end I had my radio set up, and the other end was a cupboard. And on top of one of this cupboard was a little music box, which I'd honestly forgot I had. And the only thing we were collecting were dust. And it was sat up on top of a cupboard, which I had no way of reaching because I was sat up side of my desk, covered in cables, because if I'd have gone up to shut it up, I'd have ripped everything off the table. And we just talking about these haunted clowns, and next thing you know, this music box started blinking into action.
Wow, did it?
Yeah.
What, just on its own with nobody touching it?
Just on its exactly. It did shut itself up, and I took it down, covered in dust it was, and it was a fully ironic about it, it was fully unwound. So I don't know where a few notes came from. Anyhow, I actually donated it to Neil's museum in case he wanted it, so, and he gave it to home.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll tell you what, you're actually going to be doing some recording of the Parafest event, aren't you, as well?
Yeah.
I am, yes, I'm doing a speech.
Yeah. Well, with regards to what, David?
Well, no, I was just thinking, when you do you're going to be recording the show live, aren't you, to go out on your network?
Oh, yeah, we're actually going to be broadcasting live on Fantasy and Pulse Talk. I think we're doing an hour at the event. I don't know what time yet because we've got to kind of try to work that out because obviously we're both talking.
Yeah.
So I think you're on early in the morning, aren't you, Barry?
I think I'm about 11. From what I understood, I'm about 11 o'clockish, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm on
first in the afternoon. I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, I was wondering if I could ask you, would I be able to pinch a few bits, a few clips to put on this show for it?
Yeah, of course you can. Not a problem at all.
Well, you just send me. You can send me what you can allow me to play, and I'll play it on this network.
Oh wow! There you go. Yeah, love to. That's great.
So I think it's got to be done, isn't it? I mean, now we've got some. Unfortunately, Gert Burrell was going to be coming over, wasn't he? But he's not going to be able to come. And,
no.
We've got Dan Winter standing in for him. Now,
right.
Dan Winter had disappeared for a while off of my radar. The last I saw him was at Paraforce in Nottingham, I think it was.
Yeah, I don't really know Dan, but I know of him. Lovely guy. But yeah, you're right. I think he did come off social media for certain reasons. But yeah, I think Paraforce was the only time I was introduced to him. Sorry. Yeah, so it'd be nice to meet up with him actually and talk to him properly, really.
Yeah, because when Gary mentioned Dan Winter, it sounded familiar, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It was one of those sort of, because it had been like a couple of years since you've heard it. But as soon as I saw his picture, I thought I realised who it was. You know, a nice guy anyway. But it's a shame Gert can't come over because of all the travel problems and everything.
Yeah,
and, I mean, I wouldn't go over there if I had to wear a mask and all this sort of stuff to go and everything. It's just a pain in the neck, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also appearing at Parafest is obviously Gary and Sharon Bradfield. I think Sharon sort of does all the organising and everything, does she? But I think Gary's going to be doing the introductions. We've got Vivian Powell will be doing a presentation. Yourself, Barry, and Tom, and me.
Yeah.
So,
what more could you want?
Well, I mean, I'm
that's one way to live a building.
I'm still stumbling through putting my presentation together, so I'll be doing it right to the last minute, probably.
I've got all mine down in categories, but I've got to find a way to basically put it into kind of order, which it's getting there.
Yeah, it's it's hard going, isn't it, when you've got to sort of put something together like. But luckily, it's only for about 45 minutes, I think, each. But in the evening, we'll be doing paranormal investigation. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm excited. Do you know what? It's the Church Farm Museum is up there in my top 3 locations that I've investigated. It is fantastic.
Oh, you have to tell us a bit about it. I don't know anything about it really. I mean, I've heard about it.
I've never been either.
It's the oldest building in Skegness. It's not relatively old, but, you know, it's old, and it's stayed with the same family kind of thing. It's got original pieces from the family inside the house. There's periods, furniture. When you go in, it is like going back in time. You get the smell. It's just, oh God.
That old musty smell is quite nice.
Yeah. And do you know what? I've had some experiences in there, and I'm as psychic as a brick. I do not attract spirit. I do not attract ghosts. If anything, I repel them. But it
must be that garlic you keep eating.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Honestly, it's an amazing place. You will not be disappointed. It's one of those places that you can keep going again and again and again. Relatively speaking, a lot of locations in the UK you go to and you think, well, yeah, you know, and but yeah, it's run by some lovely volunteers as well. They are brilliant as well, and they are so interested in the paranormal, which is really interesting because they have their own stories to it as well. So when you start talking to them and sharing their experiences, it is fantastic. I can't wait to take you round, guys. It'll be brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as you've been there so many times, you'll know all the ins and outs of it, which is exciting for me.
Oh yes.
Can you tell us anything about what you might be speaking about, Barry?
Yes, I've got off track, as me and Tom know. We always talk about a subject on the show and it tends to go off track a little bit, which I have actually already done. I got off track slightly, but my speech is basically going to be based on the evolution and devolution of ghost hunting from its early conceivement all the way to modern day, and it's a study of the afterlife. Actually, it's been criticised. Is it fairly been criticised, and where can we advance from here on?
Yeah, that sounds interesting. What about you, Tom? What you been speaking about?
My talk is based on what's dubbed by the media called the Ruskington Horror. which was featured on This Morning with Richard and Judy back in 1997.
Right.
It's basically my talk is based on road ghosts, and the A15 has had some amazing reports from back early to the 80s, right through to the present day. Still, it's happening. Apparitions jumping in front of cars, disembodied body parts, the lot. You name it, it's had it.
Not Barry's boot again, is it?
No, well, funny you say that, but you have seen people walking and no body. So the lower part of the legs on the side of the roads, that has been seen as well. But luckily enough, I had the opportunity to interview Kevin, and he's allowed me to say his name. Kevin, he came around my house. He was the guy who witnessed the apparition on the A15 and was it was an amazing story back in the 90s. He went on This Morning with Richard and Judy, gave the interview, and he came around my house. I couldn't believe he actually lived in Sleaford when I started doing my research about the case. And he agreed to come round. I thought, this is great, I've got to use this in the book. And so I locked him in my study. I said, are you okay for me filming this interview? He said, yeah, it's fine. So basically my talk's about road ghosts. It also includes the Knights Templar and a few other bits in between. So it should be very
that interests me, the Knights Templar. Very good. I mean, we don't know what Vivian's going to be giving a talk about, do we? I don't think. I think they've all been playing their cards a bit close to their chest, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be talking a bit about the Rendlesham Forest. It's the 40th anniversary. I'm not the foremost expert on it, obviously. I mean, there's obviously people who know a lot more about it than I do, but I do know a fair bit about it, and because of a couple of people I know also involved in it. So, but the thing is that we've got about 45 minutes, so I think I'll probably just tell the general story of the what happened, or as far as known what's happened, and I guess we'll be there to be answering any questions what people will ask, which no doubt people will be asking questions afterwards.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I'm contemplating doing in mine. Actually, back in the questions and answer section as well. Within it, anyone wants to ask a question, by all means, feel free to ask. Put your hands up.
Yeah.
Well, I actually put that to Gary and Sharon. I know we're part of the speakers group on the thing there, and all the conferences that I've been to. The great thing about it is when you have a speaker doing a great talk, and they allow the questions to be asked. I mean that's all part of it, isn't it? Because when you're listening to that talk, your brain starts to concoct all different kind of questions and theories as to why it's happened, what your perception of what's going on, and that's what all these conventions are about. It's about that interaction of bouncing ideas off, isn't it, and listening to other people's ideology of what you've presented. That's what it's
they can feel part of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's really important. I think that they do that to allow the guests to ask the questions, really.
Yeah, I mean, and also there'll be breaks, and people no doubt think of questions a little bit later, and they might want to approach someone who's spoken earlier. A question might pop up that they can come and speak to them about then. So, and also on the investigation, we'll be around doing the investigation as well anyway. There's a select set of VIP tickets. I think they've all been sold now.
Sold out, yeah. It's sold very quickly, apparently. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think they were a bit limited on how many they could have, weren't there? But as I say, I do know the VIP tickets went pretty quick. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think now as well because of the COVID incident. I mean, they've had to restrict tickets even more, haven't they?
Oh, have they? Yeah, probably. But anyway, what about your general views on things? What about you, Barry? Your general views on ghosts and things. I mean, what do you think it's all about? I mean, you obviously believe in life after death and everything, and I mean, do you believe in like reincarnation and stuff like that? We come back and.
It's a weird one, that, because, I mean, I've mentioned this before. I mean, reincarnation and ghosts, I mean, to me, one outcasts the other one, because, I mean, we can coexist as a theory. I mean, for example, I mean, if someone did reincarnate themselves, the spirit would surely recycle itself. Can't that be a possibility of a ghost? Mm. So can you have one without the other?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would have thought that you could be putting it simply, you could be a ghost for a while, then go on to the great unknown, and then come back maybe 100 years later or something as a reincarnated spirit. You know.
Yeah, because in my opinion, a ghost and a spirit are two totally different entities altogether. A ghost to me is basically a replay, like a reenactment or a facsimile of an event what's happened and passed, but it somehow records itself onto that atmosphere, like a stoke tape theory case. And it just replays on and on. And sometimes I believe those who experience those incidents have somehow they have become a trigger object as such, or a play button in such a way.
So the catalyst, as if it were, isn't it? And
in a way, yeah.
And you know, we've said this a lot on our show, Barry, where if you take that human element and remove it from the haunting, does the haunting still happen? And
exactly, yeah.
I think, you know, us as human beings, we think we are, like you said, like a trigger object, a catalyst, and it kind of kick-starts that replay in time, that motion, that reincarnate energy, or you know, it must be some mechanism that kick-starts that initial response, or that initial kind of experience, you know.
A bit like an old videotape.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
play it that many times, after a while it starts to degenerate and wear down, and you still get fragments of the old film showing now and again, but as after a while I think it'll dilute itself down till eventually it's gone.
Yeah.
No, I did have Richard Felix on the show a couple of shows back, and he was about his stone tape theory, because he speaks a lot about that, doesn't he?
He does. He's a big champion of stone tape theory, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but he apparently created a stone tape machine, with like a fog machine, and I don't know what sort of project. In fact, he was doing a show with Derek Cora.
Yeah.
The late Derek Cora, and it was called oh God, what was it called now? Jeez.
Probably the stone tape theory or something.
No, it wasn't that. No, it's something in science. No. Anyway.
So the thing is, he never mentioned it on the show. That's a shame.
No. Well, okay, because it's funny you should say that, because I think the machine went down like a lead balloon. I think his ideology, I mean, he's not very tech savvy as me and Barry are as well. You know,
oh yeah, we're useless.
Technology. The idea was there, but I just think it was a bit flawed in the process there with regards to what he kind of concocted. But nevertheless, he's a big champion of stone tape theory, and someone I do actually look up to. Richard Felix, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a
great historian.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I was due to go and meet him in May. Unfortunately, we couldn't go because of the lockdown and everything. So we've got to rebook that somehow, because we're going to go on one of his ghost walks. And
oh, you'll love it.
Yeah,
you'll love it.
So we couldn't do it because of only because we couldn't go to the hotel. The hotels were all closed down. Otherwise, we could have gone. But it's a shame that. But he was also a very good friend of Derek Cora, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, they were very close. To be fair, well, they worked together for many years, didn't they? And
yeah, so it's very sad when Derek went.
Yeah, it is. You know what? He's probably one of the most controversial mediums ever, really, isn't he? But again, I've never met him, so I can't really put my point across.
Me either.
But do you know what? Every person I speak to generally does say to me he was one of the most loveliest guys, so down to earth that you ever could meet, you know, and that's all you want from people, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we chatted a couple of times online, but I never actually met him in person. So, from my experience of online, he did seem a nice, approachable person.
Yeah. I did hear that he was actually a very good medium, but unfortunately, when he got caught up in the in the show on the TV, he's got to actually come up with results. So you end up in a trap of, I've got to produce something, otherwise all this TV cameras and everything are not going to get anything. So he got caught in that trap, I think, a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
But apart
just
from
the wrong crowd, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you got to, sometimes you're sort of asked to, you're made to perform, aren't you? And they need some sort of results for the TV show. Otherwise, the TV show's not going to be anything at all interesting. So, you've done some Most Haunted as well, haven't you, Tom?
No.
Didn't you? Oh, I thought you had some connection to that.
No, definitely not. I do talk about it quite a lot, but no, I have no connection.
No, I thought you'd been on it. I must be. Sorry, I'm getting you mixed up with somebody else.
A few guests have been on the show which have been related to Most Haunted. That's as far as we go, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah. We've had quite a lot of guests actually who've been on Most Haunted, and it's really interesting to hear their views on the show. And I think Kieran O'Keefe was my personal favourite. He didn't really hold back.
Yeah,
really.
he was on there for a few years. So,
he saw a lot, and but again, he did state on the show that he saw no tomfoolery, no misconception, no fakery. He saw nothing.
But that was in the early days, wasn't it, Tom, as well? I mean, I dare say the early days, they tried to be more credible in the old days.
Well, there was no road. There's no road.
All maps.
I mean, to be honest, I get the impression that I mean, let's put it like this: when you've got a team working on something like that, you don't want to do something that's going to that's going to look fake anyway, because someone's going to come out and say, "Well, that was fake," and the whole thing's just ruined, then, isn't it?
I know, but isn't it purely based on the viewing figures, though, those sort of shows? And let's be honest, I know we've spoken about this, Barry, about creating a documentary series, filming a group or an individual, a proper investigating team. It would be boring as hell, it'd be so boring. And, would people want to watch that on living TV? Probably not.
Yeah.
They want to see Yvette Fielding running around screaming.
That's right. Yeah.
I suppose, like I said before, it depends who you actually get to actually present it or promote it. I mean, there are some credible, like for example, the Ghostwatch from years ago, Stephen Vogt's creation. You had Michael Parkinson. I mean, well, no such better talk show host than Michael Parkinson.
No.
And somebody that credible at the time as well. I thought they put some credibility in it. It was so credible, people believed it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like we've mentioned before, though, when they do these the filmings of obviously they're going to be there for quite a few hours, setting up all the equipment, setting up all the gear, and when you see the TV show, you're only seeing like maybe 40 minutes of what's been going on for sort of probably 8 hours, so you're only going to be seeing like the highlights of what's happened anyway. So when you see it, it gives you the impression that everything is happening. Within that 40 minutes, but it really isn't like that.
No. I mean, a lot of these TV shows as well, we actually don't research the places. We actually go in, set the camera crew up, and we'll film in 2 hours, and half an hour or so later, they take it back to the office, mash it all together, and like I said, they pick out the best bits.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, it's the only way you can do it, isn't it? I mean, and of course, then people get the impression, everything's happening within that 40 minutes, but it's really not like that.
No.
What about things like, I don't know, have you ever sort of had anything about vampires and things on your show? I've never had anyone, talking about vampires on this show yet.
Yes.
And,
yes. My second guest on the Pure Paranormal Radio Show, and this is pre-Barry Day, so this is back in the day, David Ferrant. And if people don't know who David Ferrant is, obviously he passed away.
He did, yes, a
year or two ago now. He was a very, basically he was a big researcher in the Highgate Cemetery. And the Highgate vampire story. And if the listeners want to Google that, literally go into that. There's so many avenues to it. He was an occult president, and he was absolutely fantastic. And he researched vampires, ghosts, a lot. But he was very interesting in his kind of terminology of what a actual vampire is, which I found very intriguing as well. But again, that's the only person really on the show that I can think of, at the top of my head, that has a connection with vampires, really.
Yeah.
It's an odd topic, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, when I started this show, I thought that would be quite one of the topics that a lot of people would want to come on and talk about. But I'm actually screaming out for somebody who's interested in vampires to come on the show. So if there's anyone out there listening and knows, who's been researching vampires, please get in touch with me. It's also like things like Bigfoot. I mean, you get one or two people talking about Bigfoot or the Sasquatch or the Abominable Snowman, whatever you want to call them. Are they all the same creature? I don't know.
Well, we can say that about werewolves.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And again, the Bigfoot thing. I mean, I'd love to go to America and, go into one of those forests that had supposed visitations of this big hairy thing. It would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Can you imagine camping in a wood? And now this is a thing that I've learned, that certain investigators and researchers looking into the Bigfoot scenario, apparently there's certain ways to communicate with them where they're bashing things against trees.
And the chirp as well, don't they?
Yeah. And they're getting reactions back. I mean, how scary would that be?
There's actually a TV show on at the moment. I think, was it on the History Channel or the Geographic Channel? They did have a Bigfoot show on, and they were showing that, and actually they were getting answers.
Yeah, I mean that would scare me more than seeing an apparition of a Victorian lady coming down the stairs.
I think so physically it could bite you.
Yeah, this thing can actually eat you.
Maybe more than bite you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be.
You might want to take you for a bait.
Oh God! Oh.
That's quite another serious subject actually, because the amount of people that go missing in these national parks. Yeah. And it's actually really scary.
It's a huge number as well. You're right.
It is a huge number. It's tens of thousands over the world.
Yeah, I mean, and again, there's that forest in, I think, is it Tokyo? Is it the Suicide Forest? Is it Tokyo? I can't remember. And it's got one of the highest death rates on the planet, where people just wander into the woods and just kill themselves for a reason or another.
Suicide Forest.
And that's just it's just so thought-provoking, isn't it? When people go into a secluded part of the woods, and their final thoughts must be, you just can't really comprehend what's going on.
What goes through one's mind to go to that stage?
Yeah, again, but like David said, these forests in America are huge. Absolutely, I mean, county-size forests. You would be lost for days.
I mean, it's like a comparison of like our big countries are. I mean, the UK is quite a reasonably small country. I mean, you could actually hide all of UK and the Australian outback and lose it. That's how vast the Australian outback is.
Yeah, it's quite hard to comprehend, isn't it? Really.
It is, yes. And another thing as well, going back to Bigfoot. Did you know I've got a book? I've got a book somewhere called Man Monkey, and it's actually based on a UK Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is supposed to be one, isn't? Or one, or several in the country. Yeah.
Yeah, but this, from I remember rightly, is around. I can't even find it at the moment. It's around based in Shropshire, and it was late 1800s. Someone came face to face with what I believe was a rather strange, upright, larger than life monkey, and they believe it was some kind of Sasquatch type creature.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, where the hell do they hide, I wonder?
Does make you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, they can't really put a suit on and just mingle, can they?
I mean, obviously, when you sort of talk about the outback of America and all that, there's loads of places where they could be hiding. But you'd think in this country there wouldn't be so many places to hide. But then when you go to even some of our national parks, you could call them national parks, I presume. When you're there, they're actually quite large, aren't they?
They are. Yeah.
Although they're probably minuscule compared to the American ones or other ones in the world.
I mean, going on size perception and that, it's like Loch Ness and that. I mean, that lake is only so big.
Yeah.
something to be eluded for that long. I mean, there must be either an outlet somewhere in or out of it, or there's other explanations for it.
Yeah, I mean, what's your impression of the Loch Ness Monster? I mean, I've had Malcolm Robinson on the show. He's a big believer in the Loch Ness Monster, written a book about it and everything. You know, I'm still open-minded about it. And is it something paranormal anyway, or is it just an unknown animal that could be?
It is hard to say that, because I mean, have you seen a TV program called River Monsters?
Yes.
With Jeremy Wade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a program I love watching. And there was an article somewhere I read in one of the papers that the Loch Ness Monster, they believe it might have been a big grouper, which has got that characteristic about the back of it, but the spikes on the not the spikes, more like ridges on the back of it. And when it's out of water at a certain depth, it gives that impression it's got scales.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not saying it isn't a grouper. I mean, it could be, like I say, no one really knows what it is, but it is one possibility.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
There's also stories about it appears in certain ley lines as well, which could put it into the realms of a dimensional traveller.
Right. I mean, ley lines is going to be included in my talk as well, because when I did research on the road ghost kind, and we're going totally off tangent again.
No, that's fine. Go on. It usually does on this show anyway.
Oh, we do it all the time, Barry, don't we?
We do.
But ley lines, I never really kind of looked into it until I started constructing this talk. And the more I look into it, the more evidence I see that suggests that there is definitely something happening, or something using these lines that are for, I don't know what purpose. I mean, we have historic sites, churches that are placed strategically on these ley lines. There must be something going on here. But again, I mean, the Loch Ness Monster, do you know what? And you guys just said this, that why is it, it's so good being hidden? Well, if you've been a creature for, centuries old, right, you must be good at hiding. So the Bigfoot might be a species that's learned through time to hide, to be private. So it's no surprise that people only see it now and again, really, is it? When we look that way?
Well,
surely.
I mean, one of the theories I had that regarding that, I mean, if it could be one of these, like, heavy hibernation creatures. I mean, it could hibernate to a certain time. It knows the fish stocks are back up, for example. And it could sleep dormant. When these people are going across with boats and scanning it, all they could possibly pick it up is curvatures of the bottom of a lake, which, they could be good over actually Nessie itself.
Yeah. Well, there are also the theories of a dimensional creature that goes through like a tunnel, if you like, into a different dimension and then reappears again at certain times. That's just other theories that I've heard that other people mention about. But it's unfortunate, until you actually see one and catch one, you'll never know, will you?
Yeah. So basically, it could be an alien's pet. What's gone away?
Well, I mean, there is that theory. There is that theory as well. I mean, that they have been seen when UFOs have been around as well. The Yeti I'm talking about, or the abominable snowman, or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him.
I did have a book somewhere. I think I've got books everywhere at the moment, to be honest with you. One of them regards alien visitations and what the theory we were put on this planet as basically not as a test, but somewhere for us to live. And a bit like a Noah's Ark type thing. What he believes Noah's Ark is actually a spacecraft with different creatures on it, not just native to this planet, but other planets as well, and some get left behind.
Yeah.
I know it sounds science fiction here, but it's actually, they actually got these basis on from testimonies from, well, I won't say eyewitnesses, but people who have got beliefs in this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Noah's Ark in a kind of a modern way, who's to say they couldn't have had loads of test tubes with DNA or something in them, and they come from another planet, which is the sort of thing you would do, isn't it? You would bring samples from that planet to settle on this planet. Rather than actually bringing the animals themselves, you bring samples,
and you imagine how many diverse animal species we've got on this planet.
Yeah, there's millions, isn't there? And they keep finding a new one every day. Every day, I think as a day goes past where they don't find new species of something.
And there's also those what live in totally uninhabitable situations, like these big geysers down in the bottom of oceans that's still burning hot.
Yeah.
we could possibly never survive there. So if they can live there, where else can they live?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, the creatures at the bottom of the oceans are completely blind. You know, it's really mind-boggling, the sort of different creatures we've got here. So when people talk about, it's too hot for us to live on a certain planet, or too cold, or whatever, they're talking about in human terms, aren't they? Not in the terms that something else may have developed itself. You know,
it's like when someone says it's too cold to snow. It's minus 45 at Arctic. It still manages there.
Yeah. I mean, you've only got to look at the creatures that live in the Sahara Desert and some of the other deserts. You know, the snakes that survive in, with no water or whatever, they just get little moisture capsules, don't they, out of the sand and things like that, and live and survive on that.
And I think I've revert back to a phrase by Jeff Goldblum's character in the Jurassic Park. They always say nature finds a way. So. Yeah,
it's interesting stuff. I mean, you've got some interesting guests coming along on your show. What sort of subjects are you going to be covering soon?
This week I believe we have got a paranormal investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And from there on, I can't get another screen up at the moment. I don't. We have. I know in a couple of weeks' time we've got the grandson of the Warrens.
Right.
Yes, Chris McKenna.
That's big. Yeah.
But unfortunately, he was meant to be on last week, wasn't it? But he's actually moved to Rio de Janeiro, so we'll let him off.
Well, he's on a run, is he? Oh, right.
Yeah, he's. But no, we've got Tim Johnson coming up. He's a great guy. I've been on his show before. We've got Mark D'Antonio. We've got Andrew J. Wright. And yeah, we've got loads coming up at the minute. All different kind of subject matters as well. I know Chris McKenna, he's going to be more talking about, obviously, his grandparents, the infamous Warrens. I'm really looking forward to that show, and I know Barry is as well.
Well, definitely, yes.
When he confirmed to come on, because, he's still continuing the legacy that is the Warrens.
Right. And I know a Warren, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, yeah, you do. I have heard that, Warren, and I know the lovely Sasha as well. I do follow her posts and stuff and bits and pieces, but completely different ends of the spectrum, I think, maybe. But yeah, again, Chris, I think, is going to be talking about obviously his grandparents and obviously the legacy that continues with regards to the family, and so it should, because they're so infamous, aren't they? Ed and Lorraine Warren, everybody's heard of them. And yes, maybe controversial, definitely, hugely. I mean, I have so many questions, in particular about the Enfield haunting, where apparently they were the main investigators. Well, hang on a minute, they weren't.
Yeah.
I spoke to
Morris Gross.
Well, not just Morris Gross, but Guy Liam Playfair that I've actually met, and God rest his soul, he passed away, I think, a year or 2 years ago now, and I'm so thankful that I actually met him in London and spoke to him. He put it, he was so straight talking, he was so there, and he actually laughed at the fact that someone in the audience raised the question, how much time did the Warrens have on the case? And the family themselves actually did not want the Warrens there, because they were writing a book and they wanted to include it in their book, and they didn't want anything to do with it, and the Warrens kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And, a guy, bless him, he, said it how it is. But again, this is going to be another question that I want to ask Chris. Their input on the Enfield haunting, was it as they stated, basically,
Yeah. But, well, what is your feeling on it? Because it is quite an interesting case, isn't it? For our overseas listeners, it might not be so famous, but over here in the UK, the Enfield, poltergeist hauntings were actually were very famous.
Was it known as the UK's Amityville?
Yes, it was kind of like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Again, though, I think you have to kind of look at the case as an outsider. I mean, you have to. The book, This House is Haunted by Guy Leon Playfair, is strategically. It's a magnificent piece of literature. It's fantastic. It's so intricate. He says it how it is. and it's from his perception, and also Morris, like Barry mentioned, Morris Gross as well, was involved in the case, and he had a lot of connection because his daughter passed away, and there was a connection with the family, of which I think he felt he needed to undertake. So there's a lot of different avenues. I mean, we have the poltergeist scenario that happened, and it did happen because there were so many witnesses. Police statements stating that a chair physically moved 2 foot and slid across the room. That's 2 policemen giving that statement. Now, I'm sorry, this case happened, and for those people that don't believe it, I think you need your head checking. Yes, there was moments where the children did fake the activity, but that's because the media was there, the Daily Mirror was there. They felt like they had to do certain...
Yeah, they wanted something to happen, yeah.
They did, yeah, but again, as in Guy's books, you just, honestly, if people want to look into Guy London Playfair's life, it's amazing. He is so intricate in his reports, and that is what a good investigator is to note down everything you witness, and the accountability to that, compared when you cross over notes to Morris Gross's, it's fantastic. They all kind of interlink, and it's so good. It's brilliant. It's the best documented case that we've ever had. And my question...
It's not just that, though. It's not just that, though, Tom. It's not just that. I mean, you imagine in those days, the paranormal was more taboo than it is today. And you got sworn testimonies from 2 serving police officers. I mean, that could damage reputations.
Oh, it ruined their jobs completely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know, the police actually said to the families that they can't help them. That the police were called on the initial night, the cupboard slammed against the door, with the mum and the children inside that room. That was the first initial happening. They were absolutely petrified, and they ran across to I think it was the Nottinghams, the neighbours, and they called the police. The police went round. They couldn't find anything, but they heard the banging. The banging was like an echoing sound. They were scared, you know, and for them to turn around to say to the family that you need to look at other avenues, it's a suggestion of which something obviously definitely happened in that house.
Yeah.
And there's no...
I mean, how does that feel to the individual when the police can say they cannot help you?
Exactly. I mean, you'd be absolutely traumatised, wouldn't you? You're helpless, because we look at our services here in the UK are probably one of the best in the world. You know, we don't have to pay as such for the ambulance service. I mean, we pay taxes, yes, but if you go abroad, you have to pay for that service. But here, it's fantastic. It's good.
I mean, you're paying all your working life with your insurances and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know where I'm going with this. It's a service that we have, and it's very unique. Yeah. It's very good. The NHS and the police service are amazing. They do an amazing job. And for that kind of lifeline to turn around and say, well, I don't know what you've got in this house. I can't do anything. It must have been, I mean, her heart must have just dropped. And I can't imagine how that went down, you know. It might have been...
Especially for a family with young children as well.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how it all ended. Or did it all end? Is it still going on?
No, it did end. See, this is another thing about the case. It's what's so unique about it. With poltergeist cases, it's very spontaneous. It can last maybe a couple of days to a few months from research, but this case lasted a number of years, and this is what was the most unique part about the case, because what that enabled researchers to do from the SPR was to literally be in that house for a long period of time, documented and, strategically making notes of what's happening, and that was the opportunity that was handed to them. I mean, if you had that scenario, I mean, it's like the holy grail of investigating, to have a poltergeist case. As much as it sounds horrible because it's so traumatic, it must be, I mean, things moving in front of you and combusting, things disappearing, reports coming.
To be honest,
you know,
for the likes of you and me, we always hope we'll see that, don't we, at some point?
Yeah. It sounds so weird, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and for the life of me, I don't wish it on anyone. But I really do wish it happens to me, but I don't think it ever will. Because
I mean, and if it did happen, Tom, how do you think you'd react to it?
I think it'd be initial shock, personally.
Yeah.
And
Because I mean, when I had my experience, it wasn't as when I saw my boots. I wasn't scared in any way whatsoever. I was perplexed. I thought, wow, what the hell was that? But you see, what makes me laugh about things? I'm not saying laugh as such, but you get these people going to ghost hunt and that for the first time. They expect to see ghosts, but when they hear something, even not remotely paranormal, but first one's out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know what? I've had moments on events where I thought, God, that's a bit weird. And it's made me really uneasy, because it's more the fact that I question myself of what I've witnessed, more the fact what's happened. And that I think that's, you mentioned that earlier on in the show, Barry, where you question yourself, actually, did I see that? Or am I imagining? It's like how you can't really gauge or confirm or deny what someone has experienced, can you? Because
exactly,
weren't there, and unless you've had multiple different observers to that experience, then you know you're going on yourselves kind of, you know, witness testimony, really, you know.
Yeah, because it is perplexing, because like I said, my experience, I mean, like I said, it wasn't a scary experience, and a lot of people, I think people who do have genuine paranormal experiences don't get time to be scared. It happens so quickly.
Yeah.
You think 1 minute, they might get initially scared, think, get out of it, and realised it was a fraction of a second, it was over and done with.
Yeah.
So was it their imagination, or was there some other avenues involved?
Indeed, yeah. Anyway, on this, let's go back to the Parafest, as we just to close up there. What sort when we do the investigation in the evening, what sort of things are you expecting to be doing? Are we going to be doing like table tipping and?
You know, the team at East Anglia Paranormal Investigations are very good. And I've mentioned it on many shows that I think they're one of the best teams out there with the way they conduct themselves. I expect a lot of different things from them, really. They do some really good experiments as well.
Yeah, they do, I mean, Gary's excellent. I always take my hat off to him, and he gets some amazing results sometimes when you look at the film back where he's had a camera on him. And I know some people question things about orbs, but he does seem to get a lot of orb action going, doesn't he, when he sits in a room alone? Well,
we could talk another 2 hours about orbs.
Yeah, that's another show, that one.
Yeah. You know, I think what we'll expect, it's going to be really weird, because the museum hasn't really released how they're going to control things either, so it may affect the way that the team's got to kind of soak it all up and think about how they're going to kind of conduct themselves on the night.
Yeah.
Again, because there's different kind of parts to the museum, then maybe, 2, 3 or 4 people can go into a spot and then just rotate people like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just an idea, but you guys are going to love it. I can't wait to show you around the place.
Yeah.
It's an amazing.
It's a must. I mean, I must admit, I'm interested in a World War II era.
Yeah. Well, I do hope they're not going to ask us to all wear masks and things, because I don't think I could take it. and 2 meters sort of social distancing, I think it's not going to work, is it?
Well, have you seen the people at the pubs the other night?
Oh, I know, yeah.
I think the museum will do a great job, and what Gary put in place as well, as he mentioned on our show the other week, it'll be fine. I'll feel safe, and I'm sure you guys will as well, and the guests. So it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be.
I think on this other night we're actually looking for a different kind of spirit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know about you, but I haven't felt in danger anyway with all this pandemic. But there you go. Actually,
I think because we've been sensible about it as well. I mean, we've done what guidelines have suggested we do. I mean, we can't say for other people, can we? But I mean, I know I've done my bit, so.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we've all got our ideas about what this pandemic is, but there you go.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, it's been great having you on the show. Obviously, especially for you, Barry. Now, I'm just going to mention something. Now, you were known as Barry Frankish. You're now Barry R. Frankish.
Yes.
What's the reason for the change, young Barry?
I've always been Barry R. Frankish, but it's I've never really highlighted my middle name. I've always had it, but I thought now, because I'm doing a bit of writing as well, I thought Barry R. Frankish sounds more. Barry R. Frankish looks more professional on the cover of a book or some writings.
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, I'm proud of my middle name. It's a name that runs in the family, so I thought, why not? I'm going to use it. It's mine.
Well, to be honest, it actually also individualises you a little bit more, doesn't it? There's going to be less.
Yeah.
There's going to be less Barry R. Frankishes out there than Barry Frankishes. So I think that's kind of.
Oh, there's a few. There's a couple of them. I've seen two on
two
memorial. Yeah, which is weird seeing your name on a World War II memorial.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
It's like you, Tom, on your shows in the early days. You used to be Tomo Warrington, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, there's a reason for that. To my friends, I'm called Tomo, and that's stemmed from school, basically.
Right.
And you know, as I've gone through the paranormal now, I thought I need to come away from my childhood nickname.
Yeah, you kind of grow up, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, Thomas is a lovely name. You know, what am I thinking? I used to hate the name Thomas, but actually, I love it. And so now it's Thomas Warrington, Paranormal Seeker of Truth.
Yeah.
If people,
my school middle name still follows me around. I mean, my nickname is Baz, which is, to be honest with you, I think it'll be a label I've forever dealt with.
Oh, Basil.
So,
yeah.
But, yeah, I've had that as well. I've had Treebor as well. As a middle name backwards.
Anyway, no, because of you, Barry, it gave me the idea. I'm actually going to go on I'm going to be David E. Young shortly on a lot of shows, because I thought it gives you a little bit of individuality. Because I did notice there was quite a few David Youngs on Facebook and everything, so I thought I'd go down that road as well.
I think you should try as well, Tom.
okay.
There's certainly no harm in it, is there? You know.
Exactly. Let's say we've been given a name, so I might as well use
Yeah.
it. So I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah, the strange thing is, I know you used to I used to dislike my middle name. It was Edward, actually, but I don't actually mind it so much. I think as you get older, you sort of get used to these handles, don't you? It's
yeah. Like I say, it gives individuality.
Yeah.
And I think Barry R. Frankish rolls off tongue better than just Barry Frankish.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd just deal with that just before we close down. But anyway, once again, thanks for coming on the show, the pair of you, Barry and Tom. And
it's my pleasure.
Looking forward to seeing you both in a couple of weeks, and we'll have a bit of fun. And
yes, not long now, is it?
Hopefully interesting.
We
get some
I've
photos.
Still got off at an hotel yet as well.
Oh, have you? Oh, I've done all that, but I did all that before the lockdown. But
I didn't think that. I didn't think it'd be actually open. You say before the lockdown, so now things are back up and running again. Hopefully, I can find something.
Well, no, we booked it well before the lockdown, and then I was worried. I thought, oh well, the hotel's actually going to be open. But I think they've just.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I think they've just opened on July the 4th, haven't they, with everything else? So. Hopefully.
I did contemplate driving back, but if the investigation goes into the early hours,
and
I'm in a place that I don't recognise, so.
Yeah, well, we thought we'd make a weekend of it. We're going to come down on the Friday afternoon, so we've got the Friday afternoon in the hotel, then we've got Saturday for the event, and then we've got Sunday. We can sort of spend a bit of the day there and then just drive back on the Sunday, so just make a little bit of a weekend of it. So,
spend your 2p's at our case.
But yeah, I'll take a big pocket for the 2p's, yeah. I'm sure this must be more than that now, I'm sure it might. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll say goodbye, and thanks again, I look forward to seeing you. Right, cheers, Tom, and thanks, Barry, for coming on. Barry,
thanks, my pleasure.
Barry's the actual guest.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Good night.
Right, thank you. You've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions. I'm David Young on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. Hope you tune in again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network.